Everybody was wondering, where was I last night? Maybe it was time that I was going to retire. Maybe there was nothing to do, no more to talk about. Not so fast, in the words of Lee Corso, because I've got plenty to talk about, because Sportswire Radio is going to go extreme. As a matter of fact, world extreme tonight in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that our guest in DBW most certainly helped build Sportswire Radio to the tune of over 1,500 subscribers. But I have heard a who's who come on this platform here over the past several weeks and lay claim to this man's division and this man's prize. Well, now for the first time, you're going to hear this man's side of the story, because I've heard about a headline. I've heard about a Bitcoin billionaire. I've heard about a heartless sheriff give their side on why it's going to be their time at Total Domination 10, and they're going to wind up winning that World Extreme Championship. But this man has certainly fought tooth and nail, figuratively and literally, and he certainly used as many objects, a skateboard or two, and he certainly bled. And no, it didn't look like that ketchup packet I might have used to put some on my ketchup on my burger and fries a few days ago. Not so fast, ladies and gentlemen. He certainly fought, and he's going to tell us his side of the story. He's going to give us maybe, his unfinished business he has for all of those men, because they're now going to be locked in that penitentiary with him, and it's a first here. That's right. We're going to wind up having a first, because this is the first time the World Extreme Championship gets defended here in a match, the penitentiary match that has been made famous here in DBW. And our guest is going to talk about that. He may even talk about the past. He may even talk a little bit of rock and roll, because after all, I don't know if our guest knows this or not, but I've been featured in this little website called blabbermouth.net, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about who knows whatever else. But since this man is the definition in our circuit of ultra-violence, and I know that certainly he was once a king, I called him a lord, I must give him that introduction in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, was, Aaron Blaze got it, and he's only been in DBW for a minute. Chase Wakefield, he hasn't won a match since last I couldn't even remember, and he got that introduction. And Colton Lee may be a heartless sheriff. He may be on a different path now, but he hasn't still won anything yet, and they all got that introduction. But it is now time for our guest to get that introduction in the famous words of Def Leppard frontman Joe Elliott. Let's get rocked, baby. And I might even have a surprise for our guest here, because we do things a little differently here on Sportswire Radio. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show on the road and the weekend here in style on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station where all music and wrestling matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, #1 sports show, a man that has certainly done it all in DBW, a core member, a former tag team champion, but now the reigning, defending DBW World Extreme Champion. His name is, simply put, the Lord of Ultraviolence, Sami. The champ is here, my friend. How are we doing?
Thank you. Doing well.
Yeah, well,
Gotta show off the
there
baby.
you go. That is the most extreme prize out there in the underground wrestling circuit, figuratively and literally. And the champ is here, and you've brought the prize. And I feel like for weeks, this guy and that guy have been talking to try to take away from you. And now you're going to tell us tonight why it's your division. And it's great to meet you finally.
Good to meet you as well. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, I tried. I mean, certainly I feel like I went the extra mile. I feel like I had to go the extra mile because yesterday was a rare day. I wasn't here on Sportzwire. I think like in the last 500 days, I might have been here like 490 times, but my guest had canceled, and then I was watching the New York Knicks, and I didn't have much of a voice. So those combinations were like, all right, we're going to get ready for Sami Nothing. He's the World Extreme Champion. He's got a lot to say. We're going to have a big crowd here, start the weekend off, and I'm going to go nice and easy because I'm going to certainly talk about what's ahead here, Fallout Total Domination 10, but I want to ask a nice and easy question here, almost a layup for you. For those that are listening and watching in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform you, champ, and DBW most certainly helped build, Sportswire Radio, what does it mean to you to be the reigning, defending DBW World Extreme Champion?
Well, I think it means to me more than it means to most people, and that is a very important part. For a long time, the World Extreme Championship, the world has not necessarily meant the most. The extreme has meant varying things at different degrees. And for a title like the World Extreme Championship, it's something different. It's something special. It's like punk rock in the late 70s when it's at its most raw, at its most extreme. And most people don't see the beauty in just the limitless carnage. It puts you into the Colosseum like a Roman gladiator, like no other title can. And I don't think that most people realize its potential, or even like, I love all forms of extreme art and media and different, stuff like that. So I think that if anyone can elevate this title to mean something, to mean all that it could be for the future generations, then I'm the best one to do the job. And if you disagree, then take it from me.
Well, I mean, there's going to be some individuals that are going to certainly try to do that, and I'm sure I'll get to some of them in a little while. But, it's interesting that you brought up the punk rock reference. You think about the late 70s, you think about the Sex Pistols, you think about the Ramones, you think about the Clash, you think about some others that carried the flag in some forms of it. And there's no question that I think what the championship means, your background certainly relates to some of those things. So in hearing you say that, because obviously I do some music on Sportswire Radio, and I have this guy some people might have heard of from the band Grand Funk Railroad here in a week and a half, Mr. Mark Farnham. We're an American band, and I'm sure he'll tell me some of these kind of same things you're about to tell me here. So do you feel then being the World Extreme Champion, kind of like what punk rock was in the late 70s into the early 80s, it's almost like a lifestyle for you as champion? Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, very much so. I think that it's kind of like I've seen a lot of people hold the belt, and there are people that I really enjoy. I think that there are 4, including myself, major champions, that being Cyrus,
Roland Havoc, certainly. Roland Havoc.
Havoc being the final one. But in a lot of cases, especially before I won it the first time, it was like, I want the Sex Pistols. Why are you giving me Green Day?
My buddy Josh Bailey in my home neighborhood, I'm really glad he's not listening to that because he's like a big Green Day fan. So yeah, I could kind of agree with you, but I'm glad my buddy little Josh Bailey's not watching this episode. But no, I understand because there's been some champions that obviously I think waved the flag and others that there was certainly transitions, but you fought very hard. You fought tooth and nail to win this championship. You were obviously very successful with the man that you recently defeated to defend your championship at Unfinished Business, Mr. Casey James. I know he'll be a huge topic later. He's going to try once again to get another crack at you, but I mean, how has this run shaped your career versus what you've done previously?
In a way, I think it's almost a reawakening
Mm-hmm.
because there was a time period very, very like not too long after the first time I won the belt where
Mm-hmm.
I stepped back from wrestling. I was doing much less of it. I tried to focus more on things like music.
Sure.
And when I started to come back into the scene, there were multiple points where it was like, all right, well, like, this is where the real Dark Souls begins.
Sure.
And I feel like this is the truest. This is picking up right where I left off. This is all of the savagery, all of the brutality that was, I may have lost through the years. It's like it never went away. It's all back. And I feel that this is probably going to be the highlight of my career in retrospect.
It very well could be. I mean, there's no question. We have some other things outside of DBW I want to talk about. I want to talk about your music. I want to talk about Best in the Yard. I'm very excited about that. I also want to plug tomorrow's DBW show, which airs 7 o'clock, and you should certainly check that out. And if you like, you can, like me here in New York, you could have DBW Fallout in the background. You could have the Knicks game on, and I'll be sort of on in between both of that with what's left of Joe Star of NEW. But certainly, if you like to follow Sami on Instagram, please give him a follow on Instagram. He certainly has a very interesting journey here, and certainly join on with him and hit that follow button for me on Instagram. I want to talk about it for a minute because I really want to talk a lot about certainly your opponents that have come on here and some that are announced already and some still have to fight for it. And we'll see some of the fallout from that figuratively and literally tomorrow night. But, I get people on here all the time in all different backgrounds and all walks of life and all levels of wrestling. I'm Mr. All Wrestling Matters. Some, have their interpretations of that. But you talked about something I've heard as a common theme is that sometimes when you step away, it makes you think about wrestling differently and it makes you maybe reflect in a bit. So when you come back, for you, how has that shaped you into who you are and what you've done now that you're back into it and certainly back, well, like you said, potentially with the best run of your career ahead?
It's I mean, now like I'm really bad at following wrestling. Like, I'll watch like Raw a few weeks in a row, but then I'll miss it.
I got to be honest with you. I said this on my show a few days ago. I think maybe it was with Rad Dad Radley Belmont, who will certainly, I'm sure, be a topic for Chase Wakefield, but Matt DeMorris and such, who's on Best in the Yard. But I haven't watched Raw once since it went to Netflix. I mean, I'd be honest, I haven't watched it, not one of the shows since it hit Netflix. So I mean, I'm so immersed in what's in front of me for me to sit and watch a 3-hour Raw, a 3-hour SmackDown. I can't fake it. So, I mean, you're in the wrong place. Some podcasters will ask you about fantasy booking and WWE and, your favorite stuff. I'm here for what's in front of me. So, no, once I admitted that, I probably lost like half my followers now, but that's okay.
Like, I get it. Cause like, even when I watch it, I'll skip through a match.
Yeah. I just, what? It's like there's a singer, Jeff Tate, who sang for Queensryche, and they asked him once, and they were asking him, well, what's some of your favorite bands in heavy metal? And he goes, I don't listen to heavy metal because that's all I do is I sing, 3 hours of operatic songs. And I don't have time, to listen to it. So it's, people think that, everybody knows everything that's in front of you because, well, you almost want to get away from it. So I understand completely.
Yeah. I always go back to like old matches anyway, old
Well,
ECW, old
sure. I
Japan.
had Gary Wolf here in your chair a couple weeks ago, so yeah, that was a great honor. But I mean, but that time away certainly makes you reflect, and maybe it makes you appreciate what you have in front of you.
Yes, very much so. I very much have missed brutalizing the DBW roster. Very,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was curious on your perspective on some of that. Now, obviously, we know a couple of competitors have been announced, and I want to get your thoughts on at least one of them because I know he's definitely here in my chat, and he is a man that has been here frequently, and that is Mr. Colton Lee, the Heartless Sheriff. And he is the man that, last year was kind of like on the failures tour. Certainly the man that you took that championship from Jackson Snow and I kind of framed that. And he had certainly quite the struggles last year, Mr. Colton Lee, but he's a different name. He was something last year that I'm not even going to throw out there because his last appearance here was certainly just, well, you heard at least what he had to say about you, but he's one of those individuals you're going to see here in the world in the World Extreme Championship match, your title in that penitentiary match on Total Domination 10. I was curious what your thoughts were, first of all, on this Heartless Sheriff, Colton Lee.
I think that in some ways he's doing, the right thing going in this direction. He definitely was on a failures tour. I'm not.
Yeah, it was. I felt that, I prayed for him on air last year because he just couldn't win big match after big match. I literally said, I pray for you, and it didn't work. So
Yeah. So there's different ways of getting the job done. It's not always pretty. I've not always taken the pretty route of getting my jobs done, so I can't really judge him too harshly on his actions. But there are situations where you can change your actions, you can be more aggressive, you can be more violent, but I've been doing this the whole time because it came naturally. It was how I started in this business, was doing hardcore, stupid, stunt-like, the things you would see on Jackass. I found light tubes in the trash of a library and went, wow, this needs to go under the ring right now.
Wow. Oh, I never would have guessed light tubes in the back alley of a library somewhere. That's clever. You know what? I hadn't never thought about that.
Yeah, no, people used to put things out on the lawn and in my area all the time. Okay. So I go around shopping. Well, that board's good, and that's that I could use.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's cool. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so for me to go and take something off someone's property, I could either have been shot or people would have looked at me like, "What are you doing?" But he certainly, Colton Lee, brings something to the table that it seems like, at least from his last appearance on here, what we just saw from him and Jacob Cassidy, in the last couple of times we've seen him out here in DBW, he seems to be unleashing his full potential. He seems to be using his size a lot differently, and he's had an aggressive streak. And I don't think we've seen from him, even when he had that matchup with Mr. Judgment, where he was this close of winning the DBW World Championship. So how do you combat a competitor like Colton Lee, who certainly has at least an advantage on you when it comes to his strength and certainly what he's been doing recently?
Well, I've been fighting people that are stronger than me the whole time. So strength is useful. It's very much it. If you looked at us as a picture, no context, you think I'm going down. You think that he's going to squash me against a wall. I go splat, and it's simple as that. But when you're that big, when you're still in the point where you're pulling these looked down upon stunts and shady acts in aspects of desperation, you're not you're not thinking about it yet. You haven't thought through your plans. So, in my prediction, he's going to come running at me. He's going to think I'm bigger than him. He's going to go splat against the wall. And then I'm going to step to the side. He's not going to know how to compute that. And then he's going to go splat into the wall. And that is essentially, metaphorically, how the match is going to go. I'm going to get my hit in here and there. I'm going to duck out. And if worse comes to worse, I know that if he catches me, if he jumps on me, if he hits me, I may not be the strongest, the most technically savvy, not even the fastest or high flying. But one thing that I expect very hard in is durability. I can take the punishment that you can dish out all damn day. And at the end of the day, you're big. But no one is capable of inflicting damage on me like I am to myself from my own stupidity trying to beat you. So,
yeah. Well, I think it
one
also
more
could
step.
be. I think something you said that's also going to be a factor for you is experience. You have had experience in championship matches. You've had experience in these situations, and while you've been successful in them, whereas Colton Lee, I mean, we were talking about this here on Sportswire when he was here a few weeks ago, and he's been here a lot. He's probably been, the guy from DBW that's just been here the most, and he and I speak a lot off the air. But I think what you have as an advantage is that one, you have the experience, but guess what? There's going to be 4 other men to deal with, and I think that's going to certainly help you a bit in that aspect. But let's talk about another man that you definitely have quite a history with, and Mr. Judgment, who's in this, and it's definitely a different Mr. Judgment. And Mr. Judgment, we certainly wish him well. Obviously, he's flying for the first time, or maybe he's flying to get ready to go into the penitentiary. But obviously, shout out to him. I look forward to him returning here in a matter of weeks. But you and him have quite a history together, side by side, and now he's going to be in the penitentiary with you as well. And what's your opinions on that? I mean, Mr. Judgment, a man that you know him very well, and how do you deal with that? What you'll see.
Well, I'm very excited that he's in the penitentiary match because last year we were also both in a penitentiary match.
Yep.
It didn't go so well for me. And I would like to right that wrong, so to speak. We do have quite a history, friends, enemies, partners.
You guys have been on both sides of the coin, yeah.
Very much so. I have a great respect for Mr. Judgment. I think he's one of the best that we have.
I agree.
I think that on paper, he's probably the most likely of the competitors to be the problem.
Yeah, because he's obviously, as you pointed out, been successful in these matches. This is his match. This is his environment. But he's the guy that, again, he's most comfortable in this. So that's also the guy that you might want to focus in. But also, I think, Champ, he knows you the best. I mean, usually they say when you know somebody the best, that's the reason why that, well, they could take you down and take away that prize that means so much to you.
That is very true. But at the same time, I feel that the same goes both ways. And Mr. Judgment, very good that he is. We know a lot of his moves by name because he does them a lot. So
I know, yes.
There's a level of predictability that might bite him in the ass, I think.
It could be the case. And if you are here, by the way, do me a favor. Go hit the sub button for our friends here in DBW. DBW is now closing in on 4,050 subscribers. So if you'd like to hit the sub button for DBW, go do that. And definitely, we have plenty of coverage here upcoming for DBW these next few months. And we're here with the one and only DBW World Extreme Champion. He was once the King of Ultraviolence. I'm going with the Lord of Ultraviolence because he reminds me of there was a movie called The Lords of Flatbush, and it was with Henry Winkler, Sylvester Stallone way back in the day, and he definitely reminds me as one of those guys that could have been in that movie, but he is our Lord of Ultraviolence. He is the World Extreme Champion, and my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, we're all music and wrestling matters. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in here, and we're speaking with Mr. Sami Nothing. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Judgment obviously is a man that, again, he knows you best, but you also know him well. And that maybe gives you some comfort. Not that you're going to have much comfort in a match like this, but you've been in a match here with him before. You know him for years, and maybe that's somebody that you can kind of figure out how to navigate that situation. Whereas Colton Lee, I mean, obviously he's learning. He's maybe still a bit wet behind the ears. You've got the experience factor. You're not so worried about that. That's completely fine. I could totally see that. But then I'm really curious on your perspective on these two men, because obviously these two men have been basically staples on my platform of late. And these two men are obviously two of probably, I would say, outside of DBW, probably two of the most well-known men in the backyard of the underground wrestling circuit. And I'm talking about the headline Aaron Blaze, who most recently made his debut into DBW, and then a guy that, well, he still hasn't invited you to his wedding invitation to wrestling. I may get to that in a little while. And he is the Bitcoin billionaire, Chase Wakefield. And these two men, I think, desperately need a win here. And certainly Aaron Blaze came in here and he did answer Aaron Jones's open challenge. And he talked a little bit about that a few weeks ago. Chase Wakefield, a man you know extremely well. And he was only the World Extreme Champion for, I don't know, almost barely quicker than a New York Minute. And these two men have a lot to prove. And so what do you think here? I mean, I kind of said to Aaron Blaze, is this what you want to go into, the environment of all these big names and heavy hitters? And he gave his answer. I'm sure you heard it. And then Chase Wakefield, well, I mean, listen, he may need to save his marriage to enter this match and get a win here, because I'm sure his other half, who, by the way, I still don't get actually wanted the wedding invitation more than him, but both men need a win desperately. And what's your thoughts here on this?
I think that's a big opportunity for both people. Both have their very obvious pros and cons.
Sure.
Aaron Blaze, very fresh. He's very naturally gifted, I've noticed, but he doesn't necessarily seem like he knows where to put it all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas Chase Wakefield, of course, he has all the experience. He is extremely... Every time we see him wrestle, we somehow forget that he's this good, because then he pulls out something that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it every time. So... But at the same time, again, in the same way that myself and the Heartless Sheriff on paper, no context, you look at the page, you have a very clear indication of who's going to win. I think that it evens out to a point where either one is, if you're a betting man, a good option.
Yeah, I could understand some people might go into bets. I will say, full disclosure, I don't bet. But yeah, I mean, both guys have a case for a victory. I think that certainly Wakefield is more experienced than Blaze. But, Blaze is obviously a guy that's well known here on this platform. He's been in, nearly 24 companies in his career. So that's obviously something he's going to hold something for, to be able to get a victory here. But he hasn't been in an environment like DBW yet. And I think that that's why some people would give Wakefield the advantage here tomorrow night. Because, sure, Aaron Blaze has been to some great places, notably ROEW. Obviously, ROEW is a company where he had a match with Jack Delta that a lot of people here on this platform talked about. But otherwise, most of the places that he's gone to does not have the roster, does not have the experience, does not have the kind of talent that DBW has. So that's certainly something that could very well maybe handicap him here. But then you've got Chase Wakefield, who's been well documented. I mean, Silas Walker, I guess you could say the general manager here, has had plenty to say about him on this platform, and others have certainly took their digs in here. And he's got a lot to prove, and he's got a match coming up with Matt DeMorris in a few months. So if I'm Chase Wakefield, I think I may need this win here more because this is your company. You want to go out there and show the world exactly why you are one of these guys that people want to go out there and wrestle. And like, you're exactly right. People like Chase Wakefield, they talk about him for what he says, what he does, but really his in-ring work, I think it measures more than what he says here on this platform. So maybe he needs this one more than Aaron Blaze.
I think that if you gave Chase Wakefield just a decent amount of muscle mass, we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's certainly going to have to be maybe when he gets married. Maybe he'll eat more of his soon-to-be wife's home cooking. I don't know. But listen, both guys need a win. But I guess you could say in one side of the coin, if Wakefield wins, you know him very well. But then the other side of it, Aaron Blaze, should he win tomorrow, you don't really know much about him. Sure, maybe you've seen him in different places. He's wrestled here, he's wrestled there. But he's not somebody you've seen up close. So sometimes they say that makes it most difficult to plan, just like how we talked about with Judgment, right? There's a predictability. You know him. You've been in the ring with him. Obviously, last year in the penitentiary match, you've also been side by side with him in a group previously. But Aaron Blaze, you really know much to say and much to kind of plan for. What's your thoughts on that?
In the little exposure that I've had to Aaron Blaze, I definitely think that could play a factor. However, based upon what I've seen, what I've heard when he speaks, the way he talks, the way he moves, I question whether he even knows what exactly he's fighting this match tomorrow to get into. I wonder if he understands the environment that he is trying to enter, because he's fresh to DBW. I think there's no locker room quite like DBW's.
I agree with that.
And now you want to go from fish out of water to fish in the frying pan.
It reminds me of a Metallica song, Into the Fire, and he's literally doing that. That's what, it's funny you said that. Before I want to get to the other component of this, I kind of said the same thing to Aaron when I was here with him a couple of weeks ago, because I look at this match and I look at the names, right? Wakefield, he knows the lay of the land. He's a veteran enough that he can figure this out, right? Judgment's Judgment. This is his environment. Colton Lee, look at the run that he's on. We're going to get to certainly Jackson Snow. We're going to get to Ace Christian. Two men, they know the lay of the land, right? Then we're going to certainly get to Casey James and, Matt Moore. We'll get to them. But I feel like with Aaron, like I said, he's never been in something like this. And it's almost like you don't know what you're getting into. And I said to him, why would you even want to be in an environment like this? That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the enthusiasm. I really do. But if he wins tomorrow, he's going to have all of his ducks in line very quickly, because if not, the other people are going to eat him alive before I even have the chance to.
Oh, no question about that, because they're going to look at him and they're going to look at the inexperience. They're going to look at, obviously, his lack of size. And this is not an environment he's been in. With all due respect to wrestling guys like BES and Blackout and Jack Delta, and certainly he's been in there with guys like Jacob Collins, and these are guys that are staples on my platform. Certainly Jacob Collins, the ROEW gang. But I think being in the ring with Mr. Judgment, being in the ring with Colton Lee, being in the ring potentially with Jackson Snow or Ace Christian, or even your old tag team partner who you just defeated recently, or a Matt Moore, again, even a Chase Wakefield, I just think it's a totally different vibe, and I think it's hard to plan for something that you don't know for. So I think that's obviously something else that we'll have to see. And I did want to speak of Jackson Snow, the man that obviously was the former World Extreme Champion, the Blaze Ace Christian, a guy that has certainly cut his teeth in a lot of different places, but he's certainly got some stuff to prove here in DBW, and certainly he made his way to the IMF, and I'm sure that that'll be a topic one of these days once again. And he's had a lot of success, the VTW World Champion. He's been all over the place, but now he's got a match. I tell you what, Jackson Snow, who's back once again, And this is a man that you've got a lot of history with, most recently last year. And what's your thoughts on this? I mean, because I think these two men are very dangerous. They're almost, and tell me your thoughts on this. And I don't know what you think. Obviously, you're not much of a betting man. I don't bet. But if I were to say whoever wins this match would be the wild card here coming up at the World Extreme Championship that you have to defend here, Total Domination 10, this penitentiary match would be either one of these two men. They would be wild cards here coming up. What is your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on this match is that whoever wins, I win.
Really? Why is that? Why is that?
Because Snow, he is very fun to fight. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. I would definitely recommend another go around. So, in that sense, if he wins and he ends up in the match, I'm happy. On the other hand, there's Ace Christian, who I really don't know what it is. Like, even before he was a dick, he's just so hittable. I just want to. So it would finally allow me to fulfill that lifelong ambition. So whoever wins, I win.
Well, you battled him certainly a couple years back with Divinity. You certainly did. But I kind of think, though, regardless of what you just said, that the winner of this match would still be a wild card. You know, Snow's held the title. Snow certainly did do some things with it before you had it. And Ace Christian's also got a lot to prove in his own right. And I think that you may make some valid points, but I think that either one of these two men would be dangerous for you. And that's why I think they're the wild cards of this.
No, of course. The purpose of getting the World Extreme Championship into the penitentiary match was because I wanted 5 dangerous men surrounding me so that we can really show and put into perspective just how much of a difference there is when you step into this world between me and the rest. And like I said, if you disagree, step in.
Well, I mean, we'll see if Ace Christian or Jackson Snow will step into it. But I think, again, Snow being the former incumbent, I think Snow certainly, with him being back now in DBW, his size, his abilities, he's another veteran. I think in some ways, I think that he would be extremely dangerous for you. And then Ace Christian, sure, you could certainly say some of those different things. They may make sense, but he's also bulked up a lot in the last few months. And I think his attitude, the way he conducts himself now, might better prepare him for a situation like this. So I think that both men certainly make strong cases that they could be guys that could walk away with the World Extreme Championship. And like I said, Snow's the former incumbent. Snow certainly was very impressive in what he did to Roland Havoc and the artist formerly known as Big Tech. So, I mean, we'll have to find out. Time will certainly tell. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the other component of this, which is obviously the man that you most recently defeated and the man that obviously you have a long, long history with. And I know he's in the chat. I'm going to get to everybody here after I get your thoughts on this, but let me put this up here on the screen because I am very, very curious what your thoughts on this. And yeah, I mean, we're going to wind up seeing, it looks like the return of Matt Moore here, but will it be a long time coming for him to come in a match like this, or will Casey James get yet another shot at your championship? And I'm really fascinated on what you think here about the returning Matt Moore and your old tag team partner, now nemesis, Casey James.
Well, Matt Moore, I think, is one of the most underrated World Extreme champions that we've ever had in this company. He led the championship through a very dark time, a lot of factors out of his control, but he still carried the torch. And for that, I deeply respect him. But also he has, after that time period, seen a lot of ups and downs. He's obviously been out of it for quite a while. Yeah. So I think that if he's not been training, it's not looking good for him. Because Casey,
I'm going to show you a match with him when we get through the chat. I'm going to show the match, and you're going to basically I'm sure most people know already, he's definitely primed and poised and well seasoned for this match. I mean, considering what you two did to each other at Unfinished Business, there's no question that he's very seasoned for this. And whereas Matt Moore, you made a great point. Sure, he might be training in places like Battlefield Pro Wrestling, which will be a topic on my show Monday night. But you can't make up for not being here in a very drastically different and improved DBW environment here these last 9 or 10 months. And that very well might be hard for him to overcome here in this. And Casey James wants another crack at this championship, and he wants another crack at you. And this is his moment.
Yeah, I think Matt Moore is. I'm hopeful for the kid, but I think he's in trouble.
Well, we'll have to find out. Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating, again, situation because Casey definitely wants another shot at this. Moore has been away from DBW for a while, but he gets an opportunity maybe to say, you know what? I want to come back. I come back here with a bang, but we'll have to see if the aftermath of it will be he'll be a part of the World Penitentiary match for your World Extreme Championship here coming up at Total Domination X. But you know what? Let me get to the chat. They've been waiting all night, and I like to get to my people. I like to say hello to them, get them involved in the conversation, and let's do that here certainly first. But let me get to my. I think I was here first, but I think Zilla might have been before me. But I bought you some time because I had to set my lights up. But there she is. There is Zilla, and she would like to say hello to everybody. Thank you, Zilla. Zilla's usually in the DBW chat. She'll probably be there tomorrow, and I'll have my eye on your situation, and I'll have the other eye on my stream here, and then Knicks and Pacers when your stream ends. But we'll leave that at that. Yes, thank you, Zilla. We appreciate that. The man that had asked me famously, where was I yesterday? He messaged me on Instagram. Where was I? I was like, well, my voice wasn't too good, and my guest canceled. Shout out to my buddy Ramrock. But there he is, Mr. Ox McCoy, who's kind of your counterpart. He's the IMF World Hardcore Champion. You're the DBW World Extreme Champion. And we know certainly Ace Christian went to IMF, so maybe guys are scouting each other out. But obviously the man who still wants a piece of you, you knew that was coming, and I'm sure he's going to be a big topic here throughout the next 15 or so minutes of comments I get through. Thank you. Yes, hello to Ox. Thank you, Ox. And obviously you have a fan. You have a very good fan that's a big fan of yours, and scars to prove it. Yeah, I think you know who this is, and thank you very much for tuning in and joining us here on a Friday night. But yes, hello. How you doing? And the Heartless Sheriff himself, Colton Lee. I told you, yeah, he's the man that's been here. I think he's been here the most of any guest I've had from DBW. He's even said that when he's here, it's his channel, it's his platform, and yeah, well, what a difference 5 months can make. But it's been a long time coming. Yes, I agree. I definitely spoke with the powers that be, and I think we all came to our senses that you should be here, and I'm glad you're here because you're doing a great job, and I'm excited to speak with more people from DBW. Yes, hi. Hello to the Heartless Sheriff. He's the definition of boring. No, I mean the definition of boring. Now, I'm a Rush fan, but if you were in music, someone would say that would be like the band Rush playing live because they didn't really have any theatrics. They didn't go up. They would just play their instruments. I would disagree with that, and I definitely vehemently disagree that you were the definition of boring. And to be fair, today, for the second time, I sat through Tom Cruise Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, which was 3 hours long. So some people would say that's boring, but it was actually a really good movie. But you could have probably done a few things then. You're the World Extreme Champion. There's a few scenes in there that he definitely did some World Extreme stuff. I'm sure you'll check it out down the road, but I definitely will say that we disagree that you're boring. We'll go, there you go. Thank you for that. Obviously, you have a fan. It's always nice to have fans. Look at that smug little face. No, I think that he's just methodically thinking about what to say. There you go. See, I got you. He learned from you. Well, we're going to see one more time if you guys square off in that penitentiary. I want to say hello to the women's champion and our friends in the WVWF, the West Virginia Wrestling Federation. They have a big show coming up tomorrow, and there you go. How you doing, Jade? Nice to see you. And hope you come on to Sportswire, and it won't be Wyatt Black again. I won't explain to you about Wyatt Black. Just I won't even go there. Long story, but definitely love our friends in the WVWF, which, by the way, running 325 7th Street, the Richardson Building in beautiful Parkersburg, West Virginia. I think not too far from Rocky's Pizza, by the way, which has been some Enterprise amplified shows and some other places that have run stuff here on the platform. And it is Omen Black's show, and I think he'll be here probably. And yeah, there's the clock. We're here. Man, if I didn't go bald, this guy and I could be twins. Yeah, well, he's bald. You have hair. The good news is keep your hair.
Don't worry, I'm getting there.
No. Keep your hair. You won't get bald. Trust me.
I don't have a choice, man.
Actually, there's. I don't know if you know this. I mean, but there's this guy, Brett Michaels of Poison. He just wears a cowboy hat. He doesn't take the hat off. So, I mean, that's the one way to avoid being bald. They say famously that Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley wear hair pieces, so you never know. I mean, listen, you might be able to avoid that fate, but not when DBW is here. It's my show. Okay, we're going to certainly move on here. He's got the hair, but I bleed more. Well, I'm going to show you why you definitely bleed just as much, if not more, but Ron Colton. I'm going to put that up here. I agree that Ox McCoy, this is Omen Black's show, and yeah, Omen Black is here, the IMF champion, and there you go. Oh my Satan, you made him go into gimmicks. And thank you, Jade. Yes, we love our WVWF crowd. Yes, hello to Omen Black. He's just a scholar now. Well, you're just scouting out your opponent. You let them speak these last few weeks. Casey was on Mr. Judgment's show. Shout out to Mr. Judgment. I mean, Blaze, Wakefield, and Colton Lee were here on Sportswire. I mean, I saw Ace Christian on there, so you figured Jackson was on there yesterday. So you waited to come on here. I appreciate that very much. And I don't think you and Ox McCoy are related, right? You're not related to him, right? There you go. Well, thank you. You never know, right? You never know. I disagree. That's what I'm saying. So maybe you are related, just don't even know it. Like, goddamn, Sami looks like Ox McCoy. You do, let me pull it up here. You do kind of look like him. Let me, for fun, I have his poster here, his picture from his Instagram page, and you do kind of look like him a little bit. I will say, and yeah, I mean, you do look like him a little bit. I mean, actually, here you go. I've actually got a photo, and I'm sure he'll be okay with me sharing this, but I mean, you and him do look alike. I mean, I have to admit. I mean, you do kind of look like him a little bit.
I can see it. I can see where the resemblance comes in.
Yeah, and we'll show your match with Casey James, and you almost had the same shot. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are related. He's in Iowa. You're in the Mid-Atlantic Northeast like I am. So, who knows? I mean, listen, you never know out there. Yeah, the Dead Kennedys. Thank you for Nicholas Kretz. He was wrestling Ox McCoy in 2 weeks. Yes, the Dead Kennedys were also part of the late 70s punk scene. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you to Loaded Queen Jade May. Yep, we have he's hit father like son. So yeah, you're both hardcore champions. He's proud. DBW, give me back my son. I don't think he's that old, but we'll leave that at that. Now,
me anymore.
Yeah, we'll say, yeah, and follow Sami on Instagram, by the way. Do me a favor, follow him on Instagram. Trust me, you'll definitely do that. Casey, I expect half your paydays for child support. Yeah, let's not get into child support. Speaking of people that obviously you spoke about earlier briefly, shout out to my man Cyrus. I'm going to promise to get him on this summer. And also, our paths will cross in time, and we shall wage. We're like, no, now he has a big match here also coming up tomorrow. Any thoughts on what we're going to see from Cyrus tomorrow at Fallout?
Oh, the same thing we always see from Cyrus. Cyrus is going to take somebody and show them what it's like to be packaged in a suitcase, but with hammers.
Well, certainly that is right up the alley, I guess, of Roland Havoc and Colin Graves. And it's a big match here, obviously. Very big match for both teams. And should be very exciting to see what happens there. Scorpion the Assassin and Cyrus, two men that have certainly been extremely successful. Get the pun. And also Roland Havoc, we know what he did with this championship. And certainly Colin Graves was this close of winning the world title in DBW against Brandon Castelli at the end of last season. So another great match, which is why you need to follow DBW. So there you go. Thank you, Cyrus, as always. I'll pay you in gummy bears. Yeah, I don't think I'd want gummy bears to be paid because they really hurt my teeth. So, I mean, if you like them, I'm okay with it. But I'll pass on the gummy bears. But you asked Colton and he skedaddled. Well, I hope he comes back. I hope he does come back. I'm okay with this deal. Yeah, some people like gummy bears, which is good. He sucks, though, so have fun. Well, that's not true. Listening to him trying to sound smart. if it's on the curb, it's public property. Yeah, you could say that, but obviously, snatched, which you did. It's to your credit. I mean, you were quick thinking. I'll give you that much. Going to the back of the library and getting light tubes, that they got rid of. But it's still a clever move. I mean, certainly, I'll be sure to let some of the other hardcore guys who come on the platform here maybe think about going to the library and seeing what happens afterwards. In Iowa, it's a curb. Okay, you could say that. Grimy, trifling, or smartest or good. Resilient, clever word from a very good friend of yours. And Sammy, that's not true. I wouldn't compare you to Gumby. That's not, I wouldn't compare you to Gumby. But I don't know if I compare you to Ethan Hunt either, Tom Cruise's character of Mission Impossible. But you're definitely somewhere in between. Sammy is wearing some of my dad's old merchandise. Your grandpa is proud to, son. Boy, you're having a lot of fun here. A lot of people. A lot of fun. Yeah, so let's see that. There you go. Yeah, I think that's Mick Foley there. Well, you are hardcore. There you go. You know what? At least you showed up right. One guy, I won't even mention his name, showed up here once in his pajamas. Yeah, that was. And then I had a women's wrestler from the UK. This is like might have been at the end of COVID. We're on the end of COVID, and she showed up literally in her pajamas, and it was like on the wall. Yeah, she really. Her name was. What was her name? I'm trying to think of it. That's a long time ago. It was a British wrestler, and I don't even want to remember it. I don't even want to give her credit because she showed up in her pajamas. It was almost like she didn't even want to be on Sportswire, but that's okay. Hit the sub button for our friends here in DBW. I would really appreciate that. They are 4,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. Is judgment better than you, Casey? Well, Casey's first got to get back into that match with you, and we'll have to see. And he says, oh, God, yeah. Well, I mean, he is Mr. Judgment. I mean, he is certainly the prophet of purgatory, the final boss, and he's better than a lot of people. So there's no shame in that. Colton Lee is a beautiful monster. Well, we're going to find out how beautiful he is. You're going to see him here in a few weeks. Yeah, Aaron is definitely someone to watch. Yeah, Aaron Blaze is definitely somebody that I think in DBW, it's going to be really interesting to see how he cuts his teeth. And this is a big match for him, just as much as the big match for Chase Wakefield, because a lot of his peers that come on this platform are going to be certainly very curious what he does tomorrow. Let me just put it that way. They're going to be very, very curious. In the words there of Bugs Bunny, very, very curious here. They're going to be very, very curious here.
He's definitely going to be. He's going to be something special eventually.
He's got to get there first. He's still young. Absolutely. Aaron Blaze is better than Sami. I think you're the World Extreme Champion. You're the incumbent. I'm going with you right now. There you go. I think the good friend of your fan of yours is definitely in agreement. Wink and a nod. I'm sitting comfortably. Chase Wakefield is a psychopath. Yeah, I mean, there is this thing out there. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube where there's somebody like him that basically axe murders somebody that would be the person that looks like somebody that he might be marrying. Speaking of which, with Chase Wakefield for a minute, I noticed, right, he's got this Chase Wakefield wedding invitational, and you're the World Extreme Champion. I see a bunch of DBW talents on there, and how do you feel about not being on the card so far?
If he books me, he books me. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I don't take it personally.
Oh, you don't take it personally? Now, some guys on here are like, why hasn't he put me on here? And I wasn't in the right match. But you're like, you know what? One less thing I have to worry about, I guess. You could look at it from that vantage point. But, yeah, I'm going to do it because I know he'll be watching. But give him a follow. Definitely check him out. And speaking of things that I did want to get your perspective on, it kind of ties into the Chase Wakefield wedding invitation. I'm going to put the poster up here for it in a minute. But obviously, you're actually on something that Mr. Wakefield is a part of. Also, you're wrestling someone on, which is the best in the yard. And obviously, Matt DeMorris. And this is a guy, if you're somebody like me who certainly is very fond of the GBYWN and what the GBYWN's legacy is, not only to this platform, to this generation, but I think to wrestlers in general. Obviously, Will Ospreay, Speedball Mike Bailey, Pete Dunne in some form or another. It's a long list of people with the GBYWN. And speaking of which, you're actually a part of Best in the Yard here coming up later this summer. And while I put the poster up for that, I was wondering how excited you were to be a part of this year's Best in the Yard.
I'm pretty excited. I think that this one's going to be real interesting. I've only been on one Best in the Yard, the fourth one, which infamous for its issues in the backstage and the planning structure, and
Yeah.
the most wasn't a bad one, but just the most difficult to deal with. So I'm hoping to essentially, leave my mark in a more grandiose fashion, and I think that with people like Matt and Sean Phoenix on the
Yep.
show, like it has to be grandiose at that
Oh,
point.
I think if Matt Demore. By the way, it's funny you said that because Rad Dad and I were talking about this on Monday because Rad was here and he was talking about, for Matt Demore to be a part of something like the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational and Best in the Yard because he doesn't wrestle anymore. So for him to be a part of these things, he must obviously see something that he knows that this is going to be successful. He knows that this is something that's going to be very special because we don't see it much out there. So I think for him to be a part of these two things here coming up later this summer, I think it goes a long way in saying that these are things we're going to be very excited to tune in for and watch.
I'm excited to be there and see him work.
Yeah, me too.
I've watched a lot of his things for a lot of years. As soon as I saw the announcement, I immediately rewatched highlights of him and Zayn. I believe it's the second match that they had.
Yeah.
It's very excited to see this.
Absolutely. And congratulations to be a part of it. And I very much am excited for it. And I look forward to speaking with some of the others that are a part of it. And if you want to watch some of the old GBYWN footage, I have to plug my very good buddy, Mr. Sick Rick and Golden Triangle Media. Check them out on YouTube. And remember, yesterday they first opened up the YouTube channel. Now they're at like 2,000 plus subscribers. So if you want to watch some old GBYWN footage, you can do that. Mike Damage is also a part of the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. So it's great to see some of those guys. And Rad is the GBYWN World Champion. It sounded to me like we'll have to stay tuned what happens with that. But the GBYWN lives on. And it's great to see. And shout out to all the guys, especially in VTW, for putting this together again. I really appreciate what they're doing, and I appreciate everybody here for tuning in with us. So let me get to some more comments. Well, I mentioned it about a few minutes later, so I did bring it up. But yeah, he's not an Ace Christian fan. But well, we'll have to find out. Neither are you, but you did want to hit him at least. Well, let's get to some more comments. There we go. Here we go. Who else we got here? Boom, boom, boom. Boo. Yeah, Ace is definitely taking it on the chin. If you don't give it to him on the chin, I think he's going to get it from everybody else tomorrow there. So we'll have to see. He ate his Wheaties. Is Wheaties such a thing still? Is that, it's funny. I saw, what's the movie that's just out now? It's with Florence Pugh. It's almost like an offshoot of the Avengers. And they have, in the theater, they have almost like the promo box. And they're on Wheaties. And I was like, wow, okay, I haven't seen one of those in a while. I didn't know Wheaties was still alive. I didn't know they actually, people eat Wheaties. It was a thing as a kid.
I still see them in the store.
Oh, you do?
A lot of the people, like, I'll see it in the car, people that are, seniors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, because I remember as a kid growing up in Brooklyn eating Wheaties. My mother would say, you better eat your Wheaties. And we didn't get Wheaties all the time. But Thunderbolt is the movie that I'm thinking of, where they were actually on a Wheaties-looking box. But I think Ace Christian's eating more than Wheaties these days. But hey, who knows, really? What am I to judge? He's going to eat him. Well, I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. But he still doesn't like you. Yes, boo, Ace, boo. Okay, well, somebody likes their steak well done. Matt Moore is definitely somebody very accomplished in DBW. He is definitely somebody that has quite a resume. And you're going to see him wrestle tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern time on the DBW YouTube page. He's in danger. Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a match both sides have to prove. Yeah, I don't know him, but F Casey James. Well, yeah, well, I see a common theme here tonight. Zilla is rooting for Casey James against Matt Moore. Okay. I guess hello to Cyrus. Definitely say hello to Cyrus. That is one handsome man. Well, I think Ox is talking about. They could be talking about you. I mean, after all, you're his son. Maybe it's both. Hello to Miss Jade May. That's accurate. Yes, give Chase his wedding invitational a follow. You're gonna blow it. I loved Wheaties and grape nuts. I do vaguely remember grape nuts, but I'll get to that in a bit. I promised you something. We were talking about this off the. I do things a little differently. There are people that do these shows, and they have their way of doing things. But I like to do things differently. Before I get to some other comments and other thoughts from you, because here today on this date, it is Sammy Nothing Day on all Sportswire radio platforms. So I'll give you the physical copy. Yes, this is yours. And
Thank you.
congratulations. Thank you for all that you do for our sport. Thank you for all that you do in terms of representing DBW and the World Extreme Championship. And I'll give you the physical copy when we're off the air. And congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Yes, you got a day. Some people will be like, "Wow, can we watch him bleed?" We're gonna watch him bleed in a minute. Somebody wants to watch you bleed. He's from Iowa, by the way. Slipknot, Wait and Bleed. But I did want to ask you something very quickly before I do put up your last match. And you have a band, you have some music that you've put out there, and just talk to me about some of your music and maybe how does that influence you, if at all, when it comes to wrestling?
So like I said, towards the beginning of this, when we were talking about the World Extreme Division, extreme forms of art. I have two currently active bands going on. One
Yep.
is in combination with a few friends of mine. We're called Louisiana Broom Rape. We're named after a flower, for the record.
Nice.
So we're three different opinions on music, and we all veer off in different directions. We improvise literally everything. We bring in a lot of elements of like punk, doom metal,
I
and
listened to some of it. Yeah, I listened
noise rock, even shoegaze, and then just straight up noise. Most of the music that I make, specifically with my solo project Technivore, which is the main thing that I use, it centers around the noise music, different types of noise music. Yeah, you can see that's with another guy named James Gutter Noise, guitar player, very good. That is the last release that I made from Technivore. I went for a very it's meant to be like a soundtrack almost. Basically, I took a lot of what I had already created because everything that I create, it's very spontaneous. It's noise. It lacks a lot of structure. I might work with things like beats and guitars and stuff, but it's very all over the place. So I try to have it flow in the same way that you would flow a movie. Kind of
Sure.
like
Very I don't know if you're into him or not, but very Tom Morello. Like you think about Audio Slave and a
yeah,
little different style, obviously musically, but Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave. I mean, he would use the guitar in ways
yeah,
that I think at the time no guitarist had really done. So it's kind of, again, I know it's a little different style of music, but in terms of that sense of just using noise or using different things around you to come up with your own sound, and I think that's kind of what you have here to offer with Technivore.
yeah. The biggest like influences, like the number one that influenced me to even start the project was the harsh noise legend, of course, Merzbow. Uh, Basically, if you want to know what harsh noise is in the harsher size, the poster boy, that's where you basically need to start. A lot of the more experimental punk bands, so the no wave movement in New York of the late
Yep.
70s, bands like Teenage Jesus and the Jerks that influenced bands like Sonic Youth and
Yeah.
Swans. And then, of course, the original industrial band, the band that coined the term Throbbing Gristle, as well as just there's a whole rabbit hole. I could talk about this for hours and hours on end. It has as many subgenres as metal. I try and incorporate a lot of different ones and really move around the umbrella space of the genre. So I mean, even like Nirvana is technically considered under the umbrella from their influence of Sonic Youth. And
I was gonna say Nirvana was definitely very influenced by Sonic Youth and what Nirvana did in terms of down tuning the guitar and using the guitar. The layered riffs were definitely an umbrella from some of the things that you talked about, especially not even on Nevermind, but prior to that, which was Bleach. I believe Bleach
Yeah.
was the first album, and if you go back and listen to some of that, you could definitely hear a lot of those like Punk Sonic Youth. Husker Du was another one of those bands that they were very heavily influenced by, which was really the first grunge band that actually had a record deal at the time. Husker Du was signed to Warner Brothers Records. A lot of people always say Nirvana was the first one, but there was a few other groups before that. But Nirvana obviously put it out there. But yeah, I could definitely see what you're saying in terms of some of those influences and how other groups were influenced by that. And obviously for you, your influence suppose everything. So let me ask you then, how do you juggle wrestling and music? I mean, these are two, certainly passions of yours, and how do you balance them both?
Well, when it comes to like music, a lot of it, again, it's spontaneous. I keep like a large library just on my phone. I'll work at it. I'll start new things. Honestly, like the hardest part is pulling it together and putting it out there in a complete package, if anything.
Yeah, I've had some musicians on. We've had the big boys on here, and for them even, we've had a couple of bands recently. I had not the same genre, obviously, but I had Mark Kendall of Great White, and I had Doug Pinnick of King's X, and I had Randy Jackson of Zebra, and they haven't put out much music recently, and it's kind of for the same reason. They just can't, they can't. It's hard sometimes as a musician to put something out that you really want to stand behind, and I think sometimes that's a challenge or a problem for musicians.
Yeah, I recently just had to go through and organize all my stuff because I was like all my started projects, and I realized that I had like 4 albums that I'm currently adding songs and working on simultaneously. There's one that's already ready to go. The one that I just released was ready. It was ready months ago, and I've just been procrastinating, trying to find a good time to release it. Finally, I decided my catalog of completed songs that no one else can listen to is building up, so I might as well just start shoving it out there.
Well, if you'd like to, you can on Bandcamp go to look at some of the music that Sami has to offer. You want to buy some of the music, you can. You want to listen to some of the tunes, and it was recently released, and you can check some of it out. I would certainly recommend you do that, and maybe you'll find something else that you like to support from Sami. So please go out there and support the music. Let me ask you one quick question, because I know I could talk to you about music for hours, but I got to get to at least a couple more things here in the world of DBW. But when you're a musician and you get the opportunity to go out, even if you don't play a lot of gigs, but you go out there and play versus being out there in the ring, you're in a unique position. I've had a couple of people here and there on the platform that have either been in a band or maybe did some type of recordings as an artist and versus wrestling. What's the difference like? Is there a difference for you in that feeling of either being in the studio, going out there playing a gig, or wrestling a match like with what you're going to see coming up from you?
It's it kind of depends on the environment. I think that it's a very like similar feeling. It also depends on like kind of what mood I'm in, what kind of playing I'm doing.
Sure.
Is it a cure day? Is it a cow decapitation day kind of scale? More so, I'd say that the wrestling relates to like the more extreme sides. Obviously,
Sure.
It has like a visceralness that is in both of them, and I search for this in most forms of art, but in where it differs is kind of in the like the physical senses, because wrestling is obviously very physically involved, and all of the expression is
Yeah.
When I swing on you, I'm swinging.
I'm going to show that in a couple of minutes, and
Yeah.
there are people waiting for me to do that. So I'm sure, we'll get into that. Yeah, it's a different thing, music. Music, it's obviously more of an artistic expression. Maybe it's more mental. Wrestling, certainly more physical. I think as a musician, my dad, when he was alive, played the drums. My mother sings. My brother plays the drums from time to time. So I understand the music aspect. I couldn't quite, really. I couldn't quite get the hang of music. I mean, I have a bass still, but I could never tune the thing. I could play a little bit, but I obviously am better with this. But I mean, certainly as a musician, I think it's a different world, and it is an important world. And I did, if I be reminisce, if I didn't mention that Rick Derringer passed away earlier this week, who recreated the Demolition theme song, and Real American, who was obviously Johnny Winter, and certainly a man was part of a lot of different genres, passed away. But no, music is definitely something that it's very important. And listen, music and wrestling go hand in hand, right? I mean,
Yeah,
without music, I mean, all the wrestlers will come out, right? All the entrances, music, if anything else, before I switch to your match, people talk about sports, right? And sports is great. We do a lot of coverage, but, wrestling without music, I don't think you can have wrestling, because the entrances are so important. You can play a basketball game and not have any music. Baseball, sure, players come out to a walk-up song. Yeah, it means something. Sure, closers come out, but it doesn't have the same feel. Yeah, football, same thing. Hockey. But I think with wrestling to me, without music, we don't have wrestling, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, think of why New Jack's matches were all legendary.
Yeah.
He just blared the song the whole time.
Natural Born Killers. I mean, you think about your ECW, right? Obviously, Rob Van Dam came out to walk. You think about just everybody, all the band, Taz came out to Kiss, and War Machine, and you had all the people that would come out to, certainly Gary Wolf came out to More Human Than Human from White Zombie, the Impact Players, White Zombie. I mean, ECW music especially was a whole different. Shane Douglas came out to Perfect Strangers. I mean, you can go up and down the list of people that just the Sandman, obviously Enter Sandman. So it's yeah. I mean, listen, music just goes hand in hand with wrestling. I think more than anything else, like I said, sports I love sports, but I think you can play sports without having music to come out to. But wrestling, it sets the table. People remember everybody's entrance. Everybody remembers that. It's just one of them things. But
even UFC learned that lesson.
Yep.
Start giving
listen, you know what? I remember when I wasn't even I wasn't into music, but I always listened to wrestling music. I was always into wrestling music. But you know what I'm really into right now? Because I want to get a chance to talk about, I have the time with you. I want to talk about your match that you had with Mr. Casey James, because obviously I know people want to see it. They want to get a chance to see you in action. That's kind of like what I like to do here on Sportswire Radio. So there you go. I'm putting this up on the screen. I'm going to take this up. I'm going to fast forward it here a bit. So, here you are. You're coming out, and talk to me about what we're about to see, and just the frame of mind you're in.
Well, what we're about to see is two people that know each other very well. Myself being very much, I would say, on a roll, and very much expressing some sort of prime. I don't know if it's my prime. Definitely prime. And you're going to see Casey James try to stack up in the eternal dick measuring contest between us, essentially.
Well, I mean, that's what we're going to see. Some other things, some other objects out there. We are joined by the Bitcoin billionaire, but I mean, right from the very beginning, I mean, what was that about? You turned around, and there you go.
Smart. He knows. You
gave him an opportunity. You gave him an opportunity to get an opening, get the advantage, and that's what Casey James did there. Smart tactic by him.
Yes. There is one.
And using your own vest, using a vest against you. Yeah, I mean, using your own vest, and now it's going to certainly turn right into the cafeteria there. You guys are going back and forth, and we're just going right into it.
We've fought each other many times. We've fought each other for years. We've been partners. We've gone to war. It's not even our first rodeo. Not even close.
Well, this is a war, but this is still a war right now. Seeing that you just were launched there right into the cafeteria there, or whatever you want to call it there, and definitely bang your head will definitely that will be, not to quote mental health, drive you crazy, but that's going to drive your head crazy there, because Casey James is certainly got off to a strong start, and he's using that right to his advantage. And you are definitely feeling some metal posts there. Definitely. Hopefully, that won't be for creations for music you have upcoming. You are the man that creates a lot of noise, and he's creating a lot of noise, sadly, though, at your expense.
Yeah, well, tables always turn.
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes. There's ebbs and flows in wrestling. I mean, so were you prepared for that then? Were you prepared for his strong start and you knew that he was going to come with that?
It's. Did I know that he was going to come exactly with that? No. Did I know that he's going to do, something? It's this. Us as opponents, we know each other well enough to the point where the preparation, we handled that years ago. We're prepared for the next, annual match for 5 years to come, essentially. And
My favorite part of the match, by the way, was the use of the skateboard, just to let you know.
Thank you. That was my first skateboard ever.
Wow. Well, I have one skateboard story. I never was on a skateboard. The reason I was never on a skateboard, when I was like 11 or 12, there was a kid that I hung out with briefly. His name was Rod. It was Roderick. He was a Polish kid. And so it was a summer one year growing up. And he was like, hey, I'm on this skateboard. And he went on the skateboard and he broke his wrist. And that was it. It was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going on a skateboard. I don't know if I ever saw the kid maybe I saw the kid on my block a couple times after because I knew he broke his wrist, but that was my one skateboard story. So yeah, I'm not going on a skateboard. I had some friends in high school that had a skateboard. My first 2 years in college, there was a couple of friends with a skateboard, but after that I'm going to let professionals like you use the skateboard.
I'm still I haven't done it in a long time, so I'm very point A to point B. That's all you're getting out of me now.
But... Although there used to be a skate shop right where I live currently, and people used to go there all the time. But maybe I'll just let you guys use the skate shop stuff here from what you're doing. But obviously, he's just hitting you, and now you've certainly taken some of the punishment. What kind of competitor is Casey James then like? What kind of competitor is he for our audience?
Casey James, the type of competitor that he is, it depends on the day, realistically.
Well, this day right now, he seems to be giving it to you, and Stephen Gainer's even telling him to go back. And yeah, maybe I'll ask you a thought on him later. But certainly, he seems like a tough competitor on this day.
When he wants to be vicious, he can be one of the most vicious in the game. Now, I think that he might not be necessarily the vicious monster that I knew years ago, that I've battled many times. I don't think that he's necessarily in the same way strong like that. However, I do think that what he is now is more of like a wounded animal. He's very erratic, and I would say he's harder to predict. You know the tools in his wheelhouse, but you don't know which one is, going to come out at you at which time.
You made some interesting points as we're here with Sami Nothing, the DBW World Extreme Champion, for a little while longer. And we're watching his most recent match at DBW's show Unfinished Business, which just hit well over 1,000 views. And they have a show here coming up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. It's called Fallout. It's the lead up to Total Domination X, and we're going to see a slew of matches to decide who else will join Sami Nothing in that penitentiary match for the World Extreme Championship. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all music and wrestling matters. If you're here on Sportzwire Radio, hit the like and sub button for us. We'd appreciate it. You said something interesting, and I want to talk about it for a minute or two because, he is somebody you've been in the ring with. Sure, he's predictable, but you said some things to me that if Casey James is in this match, he might in some ways, maybe he's the most dangerous one because sure, you know him very well. Sure, you've tagged alongside him. You just recently wrestled him, but you said that he might be the one you've wrestled the most or know the most, but he might be the most unpredictable right now. He's a wounded animal at the moment. And wouldn't that make him then, should he win tomorrow against Matt Moore, and a lot of people certainly think his odds are very high, but wouldn't that make him maybe the most dangerous person in that penitentiary match coming up?
I think that he is, if he wins and he ends up in that penitentiary match, he will be the most dangerous man. Whether or not, because like I said, he's erratic because he is a wounded animal right now. And I think it's going to be a question of whether he can maintain focus on me to express all of that danger, or if it's going to end up lashing out, spreading out amongst the other competitors. And by the end of it, he's tired and we're still standing.
And this, I thought, was just, I mean, gold, by the way. This was definitely a spot, definitely DYI, definitely. This was definitely, one of those definitely DYI moments, whatever you want to call it. But definitely that was kind of a fun spot there in the match. But yeah, I mean, that he's also got on his mind his most recent matchup with you, where he didn't get the W, and he'd like to redeem himself. He'd like to take your championship away from you. And I think that those are things that could very well make him the most dangerous component to this match, should he be a part of it, should he win tomorrow. Even though, yes, you've got quite a long history with him, for and against. But now, as you stated, he could be very unpredictable. He's a wounded animal, and time will certainly tell here. But you're definitely taking your own medicine right now. And but that's what you've done as champion. I mean, you've definitely, like you said, you've definitely fought to represent this championship as a lifestyle. It's definitely a lifestyle, and the cheese grater's out. And I know you're not. We're not getting pizza cheese grated here. We're getting your head, unfortunately, with that, and that's going to definitely leave some marks.
Just another scar to add to the collection.
Well, I mean, you are a Scarlet Ripper. I mean, so there you go. I mean, that's definitely going to fit your name, and that's going to definitely hurt. I can tell you that if you're out there right now, don't try that at home. Definitely do not try that at home, and don't get any ideas. But unfortunately, Sami Nothing right now, he's feeling nothing but blood and nothing but pain, and that's his blood and guts being spilled out there. And that's from his old tag team partner, Sami Nothing, because certainly these guys are killing each other out there. But the reason they're killing each other is for one of those most important prizes, certainly in DBW, that is the World Extreme Championship. But a clever move there. And Casey James wants that to be a trading card, by the way. I don't know, whatever.
If anything, I think that this moment will put into perspective how me and Casey James are going to go. You can see the amount of blood after him, and now you'll get to see the amount of blood that I do to myself.
Well, definitely that is, like I said, don't try this at home. And yeah, you do look like Ox McCoy a little bit there. You definitely are related to him in some form, because that's definitely so Ox McCoy. They're definitely, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, or the blood doesn't fall too far from the stone right there. And yeah, Casey James is definitely in pain. Yeah, I could definitely say that I would be in a lot of pain there too. I would be in a world of hurt, to quote a Overkill song once upon a time, the band Overkill, which was definitely one of my favorite thrash metal bands. But we're going to certainly get to some more thrashing of Casey James and the one and only Sami. You know, Sami, let me ask you this question, and I didn't get a chance to ask it to you in the beginning of the show, but it relates to the match here that you're going to have at Total Domination X, where you've got, odds wise, we talked about betting odds earlier, right? You've got only a 1 in 6 odds of retaining this championship, which last I checked puts your odds a little less than 15% here coming up. And I was curious, just what's your thoughts on that? Because on paper, the odds are against you of retaining the World Extreme Championship. Talk to me about, have you thought about that, where your odds are, again, very low to retain this championship?
Yeah, I figured that those are two good odds to really showcase the World Extreme Championship. So that's why I requested that I want to go in first before anyone. I don't want to wait. I want to be from start to finish. At this beginning, the first one to swing, and at the end, the one that raises their hand. I'm going to prove to everyone that I can go the distance longer than any of you. And that is why I have the right to say that this is my division.
Which I thought was really interesting because, again, I've heard all these different guys, whether it's on here on Sportswire, on Mr. Judgment's show, and shout out to Mr. Judgment, but all you had to say was, it's my division. I'm the incumbent. Look at what I've been doing here, whether it's with Casey James, with what you did to Jackson Snow, and you've been fighting. You've been a fighting champion, and sure, the odds may not be great. You have a 1 in 6 chance of retaining the title, over 15%, a little more than that, but it doesn't phase you. And these guys, they have to take away that prize. They have to take away, it must motivate you knowing that this is the first time the World Extreme Championship is defended in a penitentiary. People always remember the first, and they're going to certainly remember what you did just there, but that also must be a factor of motivation coming up.
It definitely is. I think that a true testament, because most people, they look at titles and they look at what it could do, like, for their career. They look at how much it can elevate them. Mm-hmm. I think that the true testament of a wrestler, of a champion, is how good does that belt look when they have it? How good does that belt look after they're gone? How much groundwork did they lay for this championship to become great? Because the greatest champions made their championship mean something. No one wanted a belt from a champ that sucked, realistically. So it's my way of essentially proving what I believe to be true. And that's, this division is, if you could put a fucking stamp on it, like, my style is this division. I am the division. If you want to enter my division, you are stepping into my world. You have to deal with me. And if either you are going to go through experiences that are going to teach you that you should never have stepped in here in the first place, or you're going through experiences that are going to make you a better competitor, a more vicious, a more capable fighter, to come back and maybe prove to me that you actually deserve to be here.
No, I think that's a good point because, again, now Roland certainly did a lot with that title. I mean, he did a phenomenal job with that championship. There's no question that he did those things, but I do think you make a great point that we remember those champions who certainly took the title and they made an identity for themselves, or they carved an identity with that championship. We think about what Mr. Judgment did with the world title. We think about what you guys did with the tag team championships, you and KC at the time, or Ego. We think about just any champion anywhere, what they do with a championship. Maybe even Silas Walker with that global championship, which I had to ask you, Stephen Gaynor and Silas Walker a lot. Certainly that it's going on here. Silas was on this platform and talked a lot about it. He also did, by the way, say in his duty as general manager that he was really looking forward to seeing you on here. So what do you think about this whole situation with Silas Walker as the general manager? And I mean, what's your opinions on that?
I think it's a very tricky situation.
Really? He's here, by the way, just on cue. He just arrived, by the way. Has a few things.
Of course he's on cue. That's very Silas Walker.
I didn't even look. What's funny? I didn't even. Sometimes I peek in my chat, like I'll see who's there. In this case, I was like, you know what? I wanted to save it toward the end. And speak of son of a gun there. But go ahead. You got this.
I think that Silas Walker is doing... I think that he is playing 4D chess right now with the DBW universe, with DBW management. And I'm actually impressed at how far he's gotten into that. So
really?
I don't know enough details to say with certainty that, I'm no expert on the situation. I don't want to start a conspiracy theory or anything of that nature.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. You're kind of like almost staying away from it, whereas Aaron Blaze, Silas was very complimentary of Aaron here a couple of weeks ago. You're in the same spot he was two Fridays ago, but Blaze wanted no part of that. We know the history with Wakefield and Walker. Listen, Walker came on here to Wakefield spot famously months ago and basically called him an embarrassment to the Dawn's March, and he won't make it to his wedding. And then you have Colton Lee, who kind of now, in a way, was like, he didn't really want to say it, but he kind of admitted, yes, Silas has been right on some things. He got Casey James, who, by the way, I mean, he's been on Mr. Judgment's show, and he's here tonight saying that Silas Walker is a god, but you were kind of saying, you know what? I kind of got to focus on my own situation. I'm going to stay out a little bit of what that whole situation is right now with Silas Walker and the DBW management.
The way that I look at it is, many people in this sport fall victim to what's the newest gossip, what's the newest...
But he talked about nepotism. You didn't buy the whole nepotism. He had a lot of problems with Stephen Gaynor last year, and we saw what happened with the handshake, and he felt a lot of things were wrong, the way things were going in DBW, and you didn't pay any mind to that.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm here to fight people. That's my job. If it doesn't involve fighting people, it's an optional side quest. I can choose whether or not I want to go on it. And if it's not interesting enough and it's not, annoyed me or inconvenienced me enough, then...
Well, that's fair. And I think I respect that, because I think you just listen, you know what? I've got a lot to focus on. I have to watch these matches coming up here tomorrow at Full Hunt. Obviously, we're going to see what happens between Ace Christian and Jackson Snow. We're going to see Casey James and the returning Matt Moore. We're going to certainly see what happens between Aaron Blaze and Chase Wakefield. A lot of people are eagerly anticipating that matchup, myself included. You're going to, let those guys figure it out. I think that's I think people could respect that by and large. And obviously a big fan of yours does not like Silas, but Silas does want to say, which I agree with, you've done a great job with the World Extreme Championship. You seem to be quite aware of what's going on around you within DBW. As long as you stay in your lane, we should never have an issue. That's
all right,
fair.
So it's that stay in your lane comment. Now I might be a little interested in some of these politics. I don't like being told where I should go and where I shouldn't go. I leave you alone.
That's not a bad thing. People sometimes listen. You're the World Extreme Champion. He's the global champion and the general manager. And obviously, you guys aren't lane wise in the same lane right now. So he's just saying we got no issue.
Yeah, I was leaving him alone prior. If you have to add it in, then maybe I should pop over and see why.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, well, Silas does want to say, before I get to a few more comments, he did this to add. It's your boss, Silas. DBW is my show. Now it's his show, because before Colton Lee was saying it was his show, and now it's officially Silas's show. I think me on the platform tonight. Therefore, all of the divisions are mine. That means yours as well. But he does appreciate you promoting the show tonight, and I hope that Mr. Walker will be very happy that it is your day today. And let me get to some more comments. He only wants to go bell to bell because I did it. He didn't beat me. I have narcolepsy. I haven't heard that line in a while. It's the fact, we did. I thought it was clever that he was wearing your merchandise. I didn't want to say it, but listen, it's good promotion, I suppose.
Good promotion. My inventory was off.
Well, I'll leave that at that. Go buy some of his merchandise, Bonfire and elsewhere. Obviously, I think I know where that reference was, but go back. Yeah, there was one wrestler on my platform. Hybrid in the UK actually has his own trading card. There's somebody else I think that had it, and it was a while ago. But there's a way to do it. I
know a wrestler by the name of the Two-Faced Violator. He has some of he can have Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the old wrestling stuffed figure things.
Yeah, I didn't get into the stuffed figure stuff. That was a little bit. Not my thing, but we'll leave that at that. Each to its own. Zilla says if she ever comes to DBW and she wants to help Silas Walker, I'll let Silas Walker get into that, but he doesn't need help, but the gesture is certainly appreciated. Well, he's got a match here coming up, a rematch with Austin James. But I'm not going to ask you your opinion, because again, you want to focus on your thing here, and I won't do that to you. And I'm confident in Silas. I think he'll certainly not need any help or any advice or anybody else to give him their opinions. He'll certainly take care of business, I'm sure, tomorrow night, and that'll be on the DBW YouTube page here. So it's 7 o'clock Eastern time. So before I go live, I'll be watching a little bit bit of that. We'll have more of DBW coverage post-Fallout, getting you ready for Total Domination X in the coming weeks. Stay tuned to Sportswire Radio for that. But let me ask you a couple of things before I let you go. And obviously, we appreciate everything you do for our sport. We want everybody to follow you on Instagram, DBW on YouTube. I'll put all those links here coming up. But do you have any final words for your opponents? We know that Judgment and Colton Lee are officially in the penitentiary, but do you have any final words for them and whoever else you're going to see here coming up in a matter of weeks? You got up for this.
How to put this? I am not here in the championship seat because I wanted to be a champion, because I want to feed my narcissism. I'm here because I want to change the world one person at a time through brutal practices like the old coming of age rituals of old. I am the ancient world's barbaric nature brought to life, made flesh, and packaged for your enjoyment. So if you think that you can match any of that, please step through the door. I am not here for easy wins. I am here for the path of most resistance. I'm here because this is fun for me. So, if you're not going to do things that can overcome the mountain of aggression that I'm about to throw your way, please, respectfully, don't waste my time.
Oh, well, usually people want the least resistance path. You actually said tonight here on Sportswire, I want the most resistance path. That is very fascinating. I mean, in some ways, it's very commendable because you are the true definition of a fighting champion. And I could see that's why you are the World Extreme Champion. And maybe you are watching 1,000 Corps. Maybe you're not. But there'll certainly be 5 other potential corps coming up here in this World Extreme Championship match, which will be in a penitentiary, the first of its kind ever for the World Extreme Championship. And yes, I agree. Thank you, Zilla. Happy Sammy Nothing Day. And yes, definitely, yes, see more for that. And again, Fallout will be here tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Please go out there and watch the show. Please follow DBW. Congratulations to DBW once again on hitting 4,000 plus subscribers. DBW is, by the way, in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame for that accomplishment. DBW is well over 1 million views and a lot of great stuff. The last show hit well over 1,100 views. So people are definitely more and more into DBW, and I think that that's a great, certainly thing. And by the way, Casey James hates it. Well, you know what? I'll say things. We're in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, baby. And you were on Mr. Judgment show, and well, you had to deal with 5 other microphones or 5 other mounts. Here, we go right. We don't pull any punches. We go right to the point. So, but I'm sure he'll have something to say about that on the next Mr. Judgment Confessionals, which I think is
sure.
Which will be next Wednesday, by the way, Wednesday, 9 o'clock. I know it was special yesterday, but it'll be Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Definitely check it out. Before I pass the baton to you for closing thoughts, is there anything else that you want to share for the audience? Anything else you want to say before I get to closing thoughts?
Subscribe to DBW, subscribe to VTW. I'll be somewhere in the background. We do like really cool stuff. I think, it'd be a good idea. Just throwing that out there. Mark your calendars for that one, Sammy Nothing Day. I take offerings in blood and or cash.
Well, there's a few songs I've quoted here on Sportswire. It's there's Rain in Blood from Slayer. There's obviously Pantera is a Message in Blood, and which was from Cowboys from Hell, which was one of my favorite albums out there. So, and there's Slipknot, Wait and Bleed. So all of them have blood or bleed. So Sammy Nothing may want to get paid in blood, but definitely we don't want to send those messages out in blood to hit DBW a sub button. And yes, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I like DBW so much. I own 3 YouTube channels, and I gave them 3 subs. So join me and hit the sub button for them. Again, tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Also, Best in the Yard in the coming weeks and months. Definitely check out that. I'm very excited to see Matt DeMorris out there. Also, Sami has a Bandcamp page. If you want to check out Technivore and some of the music, some of the different things that they have to offer, I would really recommend that you go out there and follow. And we'll be certainly watching, anticipating it closely, what happens tomorrow night, which will lead into Sami Nothing defending that World Extreme Championship in a matter of weeks, Total Domination X. And he'll never enjoy this date again. Well, I mean, maybe you'll tell us why tomorrow it'll be a better day for you. Maybe tomorrow will be a better date, but time will tell. He's got a big match with Matt Moore, and we'll see what happens again with Mr. Ace Christian and Jackson Snow, Mr. Aaron Blaze and Chase Wakefield. So check all of that out. But it's time to pass the baton to you. I want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. I'm going to put your Instagram page up here one more time. And the floor is yours, my friend. Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed this. And don't be a stranger. And I pass the baton to you now.
Well, I've been Sami Nothing. Thank you for having me on here. We're doing great things in DBW. I'm doing great things in the World Extreme Division. You should tune in and check it out, because it's the only place where you can see the level of carnage like they did in Rome. Also, Silas Walker, you may be the owner of the company, but you owning my division is about as relevant as Italy owning the Vatican. Please step down.
Wow, that was some strong words there. That was some strong words for Silas Walker. Very strong words there. And something tells me that that was Sami Nothing's For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which, speaking of Sammy's, that was the 3rd album from Sammy Hagar, spelled with MMY, who was the frontman of Van Halen. That was my favorite Van Halen album. But definitely that's Sami Nothing with an SAMI. But definitely that was his For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. And something tells me that Silas Walker vehemently disagrees with that. And I'm sure he'll be back on Sportswire to tell us why. But he's got a busy night ahead tomorrow. But tell me what, ladies and gentlemen. Follow Sami Nothing on Instagram. That's what you should tell me you're going to do. Tell me you're going to go follow Sami Nothing and do all the great things that he's doing on Instagram by following him and joining along with this man's adventure. Certainly, he is doing a great job here as a part of DBW. DBW is certainly in very good hands, and the World Extreme Division is in good hands with this man. It is his division. He made sure the world knew that tonight. He certainly said that, you know what, no matter what happens, that fallout from Aftermath tomorrow night, it's staying in his hands come Total Domination X, and you'll find out more. But you see that championship, you see that prize. It is the most extreme prize out there in the underground, and that is Sami Nothing. My friend, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on to Sportswire Radio. It's a long time coming. It's about a year and a half coming, and definitely long overdue, and I can't wait to see you here soon. Congratulations on all your success. I'm looking forward to watching tomorrow's show. I'm looking forward to watching Total Domination X, and I'm sure throughout this summer and fall, you're going to be a big topic, and I hope you don't be a stranger, and I hope to see you here very soon.
Thank you for having me, sir.
You got it. That is Sami Nothing. It is Sami Nothing Day here. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally with all music and wrestling matters. If you're here on Sportswire Radio, go follow Sami Nothing. If you're here also, go to Bandcamp and go find out Technivore's music, buy it, listen to it, share it, whatever you got to do. Go out and support him there. DBW's on YouTube. Hit that sub button for me. DBW's on Instagram. Hit that follow button for me. Facebook, DBW's there. Hit that like button for us. Here on Sportswire Radio right now, hit that like button for me. Hit that sub button for me. I'll be back here tomorrow night, sometime between 7:30 and 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time with Joe Starr of NEW, who certainly had his own problems tonight on their Insanity Calamity 10, where he certainly took a beating. Let's just say he had his own blood problems with Mr. B Insane, their undisputed champion. Then I'll be here Sunday night around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time with Tommy Hara. Yes, Tommy Hara. What an interesting next 3 days here. We've got you tonight. We had Joe Starr, formerly the Puerto Rican Dream. We have a guy whose last name is Hara, and he manages the LAW Legit Alternative Wrestling Champion, La El Shaddai. And he also, like you, played in the band, opened up for Avenged Sevenfold, and opened up for the Misfits. Boy, what an interesting next. Yeah, Tommy Hara, Pennsylvania guy from Pittsburgh. He's also involved with Express Wrestling, and he opened up for My Chemical Romance, Avenged Sevenfold, and the Misfits. And he's a big punk rocker, but that's a different show for a different time. But thank you so much, everybody. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. That's Sammy Nothing. Go follow DBW, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Oh, and another one. Go over to the Sports Property where all music and wrestling matters. Have a great night. Follow you.